Hello and welcome to the March 2020 garden tour. My garden is located just around Toronto, Canada. It is a Zone 5 garden using the USDA hardiness zones or a Canadian gardening zone rating of a 6A, a 6B. We have had a very dry, warm winter, and I am starting a little bit of yard work, so I just wanted to show you what's going on here at the end of March so you have an idea of what you could expect this year. Not always the same, and we have a saying here in Canada and much around the world, which is if March comes in like a lamb, it goes out like a lion. And it's been very kind of lammy and springy all season, so I have been hesitating to actually start any yard work because I think there will be another snow. But looking at the forecast, it looks like we're going to have a lot of rain, so I just wanted to come and show you some of the beauty that's sitting here. Look at all of these beautiful flowers. These are one of the bulbs that you want to plant ahead of time, or at least grab a patch from somebody, because they spread all over the place. I'll put the name in here so you can look it up. These are from my parents' house that I planted maybe 10 years ago. And even though we had that big, huge walnut tree that was here and fell down 2 years ago, all of these flowers have propagated themselves and they actually have spread even better. So it's really exciting to see them come back. As you'll see, I still have also all my winter arrangements up, and I do keep these up all season. They will be here right until, just pan that up for you. These will all be here until April, if not May. Usually around April, I come and take out the bulbs, and I'll see if I can grab some violas and put them in there for a little bit of color. This year is going to be a very different gardening season. We have no idea what to expect in the world right now. So I am trying to do things like think about what are the flowers that I can grow from seeds, what are the items that I can divide to put into my containers, and just trying to think a little bit differently. So for sure, all of this stuff is going to be here until April, because a lot of the garden centers aren't even open anymore for us to access plants. I've started some of the raking today because of the rain. I'm not doing a heavy raking. I'm just doing some of the hostas that I didn't clean up last fall. I just want the rain to be able to get into the dirt a lot easier, and I also want to reduce the nice cozy homes that the slugs like to live in. One of the areas I'm going to spend a little bit of time on is this area right in here underneath our feature pot. I just want to trim back a little bit of the lavender. I'm not going to do the hard cutting that I would typically do in another couple of weeks, but I'm going to make it a little less scrawny right now, and I'm just going to clean up some of the dead hostas that are around in this area. I just want it to look a little nicer from the house, but I also want to make sure that I'm not removing so much that when those hostas peak up and then it snows, that they don't get ruined. I've already done a little preliminary work right in here in this garden, and you can see all the hostas that I've removed. So I haven't again done a hard rake, and I'll even show you the rake that I'm using just to give you an idea. This rake is a plastic rake, and it has just short little tiny little fingers at the end, or the parts that rake hard. I have metal ones as well, but they're just a little too aggressive for this time of year. So you're just being a gentle, sort of taking the rake along the top level of the garden. Another area that I'll spend a little bit more time on is on all of these lamb's ears. So you can see like there's a lot of dead leaves. These are never going to grow. So it's a good idea to rake them so that all of these beautiful leaves that are right down in here can grow without being hindered. And you can see those pretty little flowers are spreading all over the place. This time of year is also a great time to come along and just remove any of the stalks that are left from last fall. So you can see that's where I had all of my milkweed, and that area can definitely be cleaned up going forward. Look at all this beauty coming alive. I know to some this is maybe not as gorgeous as my garden is typically. It's the best we can do right now, and it's what it looks like every time in March before I put all the extra effort into it. I thought I'd also just walk you over to what the shed looks like right now. So here's the shed. Inside my shed, you can see like everything fits. The fountains, all my planters, and we had a very quick winter this year. It was a beautiful, never-ending fall, and then all of a sudden we got a snowfall warning, and it went from warmth to freezing cold, and we still even have leaves stuck on many of the trees because it happened so quickly. And what I had to do was take a lot of the planters and just put them directly here in the shed with the plant still on it. So these still have all sorts of geraniums stuck in them, as well as the petunias that we planted. I also have over here some mint, and I'm hoping that that mint might come back. And you can see here, even in some of these plants, it's greening up. Look at these ones over here. Just move the camera. Look at all the greenery happening there. And some of the succulent arrangements, these are mint, and I'm hoping that they will come back as well. And then tucked back here, there's more greenery coming. So I will close the doors again to the shed because I want this to remain a nice, cozy, warm spot. It is actually quite warm in here when the doors are closed. For those of you who are wondering about the succulents that usually sit on the table, they are all over at my dad's. He has a greenhouse, and they are all overwintering there quite nicely. And you can see all of the black pots that we've bought trees in over the years. We plant those up with vegetables, and we just stack them in the winter so that they keep this area nice and tidy. I am going to try to do things from seeds this year because, again, I don't know what's going to be available for us as the season moves forward. I know a lot of people are unable to get outside right now, so if there are things that you want me to specifically cover off in the garden this season, in early spring, that can help you find some joy, I'd really like to hear what sort of things you would like me to cover. Keep in mind, I have limited materials. I have seeds, I have some potting soil, and I have enthusiasm. So let's see what we can do as a collective garden community to bring a lot more joy to each other. So here's where we're sitting. I'm just about to do the final cleanup of all of the refuge from this project. You can see my husband is lying down on the job, but we didn't do a ton of work today. I'll take you through it in detail in a moment. So we're just about done. We are actually using garbage cans because we don't have any of the brown paper waste bags, and we're not about to go out and get them today. So we're just going to use garbage pails and have that as part of our regular garbage. They don't do leaf pickup at this time of the year anyways, so that's the best way we can deal with this stuff for now. I do not compost it because I do not have a composter that can take that type of big sticks and deal with it. Recommend if you have that type of space, then go ahead and do it. I'll just take you on a quick little tour of the things we got accomplished today. Spent an hour out here, pretty much solo, just doing a little bit of light cleaning. I just want to emphasize that for any kind of yard work that you do in Canada in a Zone 5 garden or Zone 6B garden in March, it needs to be with a light hand. And a lot of places I used my hand instead of the rake because at this time of year sometimes some of your plants have heaved from frost and your rake will just pull them out. So you want to be very, very gentle, and you don't want to have everything exposed at this time of year because we still will get winter cold nights here. So you want to be very mindful of your light-handed touch of just doing a little bit of cleanup, but not too much, so that your plants still have a nice protective blanket. So these lovely plants that are blooming are actually called winter aconites. They're a very lovely perennial that comes back. It shows up in the springtime. It's the first flower that blooms here in the garden. And then by midsummer, you actually don't see any sign of it at all. These are snowdrops, They usually happen around the same time as the winter aconite, but you never know which one's going to come out first. Sometimes it's the snowdrop, depending on the sunny location, or sometimes it's the winter aconite. Either way, it's a beautiful time for you in the garden just to have hope and inspiration of things to come. Still early, but we have some of our tulips just starting to pop up, and if anyone recalls from last year, these are a gorgeous double bloom, and I just can't wait to see what they look like. I also cleaned up the iris that was, it looked more like wild grass right now, so it's been cleaned up and tidied up. The lamb's ears were all growing underneath all the dead leaves that were there, and the other thing that I found was some beautiful euphorbia that has just started. That's the purple leaves that you see there. So everything is coming along, and you want to be very mindful about how much you remove in terms of yard waste that was sitting on top of them. Over on the lavender, I just really did a light trim on the top of them, just some of the stalks that were there from last year. But as I was doing that, I realized that there's a lot of new growth that's already coming up. So that's a little task that I will need to tend to in the next week. The other thing that I did was I cleaned up all these peonies that are sitting in this area. Usually you would typically do that in the fall, but again with our fast winter, I did not get around to it. And it also reminds me that these are peonies that are likely need to be moved. I will leave them here for the second year since that big tree fell and see what sort of blooms we got. Last year we did get more blooms than I'd had in any other year, so it may just be what they needed, but I'm going to keep an eye on them. One of the tasks that you can do while it's relatively dry out is to edge your garden. Now, I haven't edged this garden. This is still from last year, but I did clean up all the leaves that were stuck in there, so it just gives me a better definition. And I did clean up all of the very large hosta leaves. You can see there's still a few left, because again, I wasn't trying to do a hard gardening cleanup. I was just doing a soft one, so those are okay that I've left them. Am I done all of the spring cleanup? No, you can still see that there's some hostas sitting over there. There's some more twigs that need to be cleaned up over in this area, but I'm done for this day, and I will come back another day just to do another light cleanup. One thing I did do is unstack all of my black pots. I want them to start thawing out because I think I will probably seed some stuff directly in them for the lettuce. And they are right now frozen solid. Some of them had ice on them. That just gives you an idea that it is not really warm enough to do a lot of planting and yard work here. Thank you so much for joining the March garden tour. I really appreciate all of your kind comments and all of the likes that you guys give these videos. It's been a joy to put this together and just spend some time in the garden. It's a great way to distract yourself from all of the news that's happening right now. Things that you can do in the garden is a little light cleanup. You can edge, you can start to think about your seeds, you can think about combinations of plants that you could put together that are from your garden. You could think about how you could do arrangements that are just vegetables from seeds. There's so much opportunity in front of us, and gardeners, we're a resourceful crowd. Let's see what we can do to support each other with the plants that we also have abundance of. Take care, everyone. I look forward to sharing with you next month what's going on in the garden. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow along. We'd love to have you for this wonderful journey as we adventure into homesteading and all different things that have to do with the beauty of food and nature and how it all comes together to build a beautiful, fulfilling life. Take care, everyone.